So welcome back to the Happiness series and to day 3 of part 3. Now, as I said yesterday, you may well have noticed as you went through the day that it's quite a big job to be aware of every moment of criticism or judgment. But if you were able to, even just a few times throughout the day, then you'll have noticed that in those moments where you become aware of it, something shifts, something feels a little bit different. Now that will only happen if you don't jump in there with more thoughts. So you can imagine if you have a tendency to be very self-critical or very judgmental towards yourself, in the moment that you realize you're doing it, it can be very easy to jump in there and be critical about that. But if you can just see that happening, it's not about stopping the thoughts. It's not about trying to control the thoughts. If you can just see the tendency, then something changes, something shifts. And then it starts to make sense, sort of why this is such an integral part of how satisfied or fulfilled we feel in life. But if you think about it, we don't sort of switch the mind on and off when we move from one place to the next. We don't change the way we think from one moment to the next. Sort of habits that have built up over a very long period of time tend to remain fairly consistent. So that obviously means that if we're quite harsh towards ourselves, if we're quite self-critical, then it's only natural that we'd think in a similar way towards other people. After all, that becomes the filter, the lens of our perspective. Again, that doesn't make us bad people. That doesn't mean that we then have to criticize ourselves for doing that. But it's only natural. If we've set up this kind of lens through which we see ourselves, when we look through that at others, then we're going to see them in a very similar way. Sometimes it can sort of be a little bit different from that, and we can use that lens to compare ourselves with others, perhaps inflating the way that others look or speak, and therefore using that as a way for further criticizing oneself. But it's still being involved in that sense of judgment, of comparison, of criticism. So the more we can sort of let go of that, the more easily the mind will come to a place of calm, the more the thoughts will settle down, and the greater sense of contentment, of fulfillment we'll experience, both in the meditation but also in our everyday life as well. But for now, just getting ready in the usual way. And when you're settled, just starting off with some nice big deep breaths. And just closing your eyes with the next out breath. As you take just a little bit of time to become more aware of the different physical senses. And now just scanning down through the body. So just pausing, just to be clear about your motivation. And to be sure about how giving up those habits of mine, those tendencies to be critical, being sure how that can benefit the people around you. And now just coming back to the breath. And just maintaining an awareness of the movement of the breath for the next couple of minutes. So just watching now, that visualization begins to take place. Starting to experience, to see those innate qualities appear as that pinprick of light in the middle of the body, middle of the chest. And just watching, just following, feeling as that begins to expand in every direction. Taking it, as always, as far as the mind can possibly imagine, into space in every single direction. Just starting off very slowly in the body and then just following that outwards. And then very much with that sense of enjoyment, spacious enjoyment in mind. Just letting go of the image and just letting the mind do whatever it wants to do. And just bringing the focus back again now, back to the body. Just starting to feel the weight of the body again. Starting to feel the contact, the physical sensations, starting to notice the sounds, the smells as you open your eyes. Just blinking to refocus. Noticing perhaps a difference without judging, noticing the difference in how you feel now and how you felt before the exercise. And as always, just being clear about the intention to be aware when you leave the exercise today, no matter where you're going, what you're going to do next, carrying that awareness with you. And when you've done that, you can just sit back in the chair. Now, of course, we're only on day 3, but it's really important to say right at the beginning, this part, that it's quite normal not to necessarily experience a heightened sense of joy straight away. As I said on day 1, very often the patterns of mind, our thinking, it may simply just be a very busy mind. There's sort of a sense of restlessness has often got in the way of experiencing this sense of enjoyment. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with us if we don't immediately experience it. It simply means that the pattern that's previously got in the way has been strong and that it takes a little bit of time to let go of that. If you think back to the idea of blue sky, which of course we looked at the very beginning of the Headspace journey, and that idea of sort of just sitting there waiting for the clouds to pass and just every now and again perhaps catching a glimpse of blue sky. And as we sit there a little bit longer, we see more and more glimpses of blue sky. And before long the clouds start to part, and after a little while we might start to get to rest in sort of big spaces of blue sky. It's a very similar process when it comes to enjoyment. But we can help that, remember. We can help that by engaging in things that we enjoy. Even if life is very demanding, if we have a lot of responsibilities, both at work, at home, with family, our personal lives, no matter what it is, we can find moments, brief moments of enjoyment to help with this process. So really important to look out for those throughout the day. But I'll leave it